as it takes place and the potential announcements that we may hear. But we now move on as Chinese President Xi Jinping and Brazilian President Luiz Inacio Lula da Silva have pledged to deepen ties and strengthen the BRICS bloc in a one-hour phone call. Both leaders stressed BRICS and the G20 as key platforms to defend multilateralism and build consensus in the global south. Xi called the China-Brazil relationship the best in history and vowed to work with Lula to set an example of unity and self-reliance among major emerging economies. Lula and Xi agreed to pursue new business opportunities with agriculture and coffee exports to China remaining central. Xi voiced support for Brazil in resisting excessive tariffs without naming the United States and urged all nations to unite against unilateralism and protectionism. The two also discussed promoting a political settlement to the Ukrainian crisis and ensuring the success of the UN Climate Change Conference in Belém later this year. Well, joining us is Andrew KP Leung, a China strategist, live from London, to discuss this conversation and this relationship between China and Brazil. Andrew, is this directly in response, this phone call, to Trump's tariff action and, of course, the rising BRICS group?
Yes, well, this comes at a time when the global order has been totally upended by Trump's unilateralism and American first coercion. Of course, the United States is still the largest economy in the world, and it's the most powerful militarily, and has a global reach, and the dominance of the US dollar still reigns supreme. However, this dominance and supremacy is now under challenge by Trump's iconoclasm, destroying the rule-based order and replacing it with bullying, with American first unilateralism, infringing on other countries' sovereignty, as in the case of Greenland and Canada, and also even lumping huge tariffs on Americans' traditional allies. And then, of course, a lot of the countries in the global south, they do not want to be forced to choose between the United States and China, but they're finding the United States much less reliable as a trading partner. So this is a sea change in the global dynamics. Now,
yes,
as far as the bilateral relations between China and Brazil is concerned, Brazil is one of the world's largest exporter of agricultural products and also energy. And Brazil and China are extremely complementary. And China is the world's largest consumer of agricultural products and as well as energy. And rather than relying on importing, for example, soybeans from the United States, which is now, of course, at the height of a trade war with China, and China is buying more soybeans from Brazil.
yes.
Now, if you look further...
Andrew, sorry to interject.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of how much time that we have left.
Okay.
And I do want to bring in the recent strained relations between President Trump and President Lula of Brazil. Of course, lots of rhetoric, higher tariffs, and also conversation around Jair Bolsonaro, who is aligned with Trump in terms of their recent issues, facing legal action, etc. Do you think that this move from China could potentially rile the US up in the face of that 90-day extension of those tariffs, which went to triple digits between the US and China?
I think that the special partnership between China and Brazil is not new. I think that the two countries are, as I explained, quite complementary. And of course, the United States is aware that the whole world is now pivoting or recalibrating its relationship with the United States. And not least, for example, the European Union is now pivoting towards the global south, other countries in Asia as well as Latin America and Africa, and this is only to be expected. But I think that also that the dynamic that is important in this growing relationship between China and Brazil is because Brazil is is part of the BRICS group, and the BRICS group is now expanding quite significantly with the addition of 6 new members: Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, so Africa and Asia, but particularly the Middle East. The key players in the Middle East are joining BRICS, including Iran, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. So I think that this is also a significant dynamic of development in increasing the influence of the BRICS group. Not that it's going to form a solid bloc, but then there is a greater complementarity and increasing areas of cooperation, particularly in the light of Americans' unilateralism and iconoclasm of the post-war global order.
Andrew KP Leung, thank you ever so much for joining us and discussing that conversation and the wider ramifications of Chinese-Brazil relations. We appreciate